growing old, not growing old. And the last quote that was given was one that was said by Steven Spielberg, giving them the opportunity to create themselves. Word of the day was used by Toastmaster of the day, Cyril. Gender evaluator sign. And because I pitched in as a table topic, the topic round, I grabbed the opportunity to use it. Let me very quickly, before I round it up the sandwich way, I'll go through English that needs some corrections. Here we are. Joined 5 months back into this. Could have been, I joined 5 months back, shorter, is more crispier. Make more networks with you. Increase my networking with all of you. Pujari, priest, because Toastmaster always tells we need a translation. Human shape could have been either human avatar or human form. Looking at my watch, should have been glancing at my watch. What is it that I want wrong? Where did I go wrong as the correct way of constructing that sentence? That's where I realized she was lacking, is better said as she was lacking in self-love. Once upon a day is generally once upon a time. Basically, culture of would have been better if it was said basically the culture is makes sure, not makes sure, make sure in the context of a sentence that was spoken. Here the pronunciation was wrong. It's not wondering, it was wandering. Wandering has an A in it. So there is a difference between the word wondering and wandering. 1 year ago, in the context, it happened a year ago would have sounded more crisp. Struggle in his life was spoken instead of the struggle in my life. There is no word called gymming. We should not be adding words that are not there in the English dictionary. You will maintain healthy, wealthy, wise would have been better put as you will remain healthy, wealthy, and wise. We have visited, no, we had visited. It should be past perfect. How the points can make a difference in, how the fruits can make a difference in your choices. How the delicious, tasty fruits will help you choose better could have been very well put and conveyed or communicated. Good English. I enjoyed the banter that began between Cyril and Sai. Charismatic, charming, and then ever dashing Sai, that banter of describing people really set the mood right where the grammar was concerned. 5 months young, it was a different way to put it, and I really liked that. Burst into sobs, very well put. Chirpy, zeal, rich, phenomenal. Take you by finger, which means I lead you. Delve into that fraternity by default, amalgamation, exotic, uncanny, delicate balance, and glimpse with some of the English words that I really appreciated. Thank you for the opportunity, and over to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you, Toastmaster Purnima, for a wonderful evaluation as the grammarian for the evening. Now I will be taking this opportunity to evaluate the entire flow of the meeting. The meeting began exactly on time at 6:30 p.m., as is usually the case at BKC Fireflies. I would say 99.999% of the time we start on time, which is basically the entire time. The club mission statement of Toastmasters was announced at the beginning. Then the control was handed to the presiding officer for the evening. Guests were invited to speak and explain how they ended up at our meeting. There was interaction between the presiding officer and guests, which was again a welcome sign. Then when the meeting itself started, the Toastmaster of the day, who also happened to be the presiding officer, introduced the topic that they wanted to talk to us about. There was a little bit of room for improvement there in the first segment. The Sergeant at Arms, that is me, could have done a better job of introducing the presiding officer, because it was my job to somehow set the stage for the presiding officer rather than just toss him over the fence and say, listen, it's your baby now. Maybe I could have said something about Toastmaster Cyril, something that I know that other people might not. That would have maybe smoothened the transition from me to Toastmaster Cyril as the presiding officer. Other than that, the beginning was perfectly fine. In terms of the role as the Toastmaster of the day, Toastmaster Cyril was engaging and interesting. The story about Singapore as Simhapura, then Shani Singapore, all those quirky names that people come up with. Nagarkoil was a revelation to me. I wasn't aware of it. So I'm grateful to Toastmaster Cyril for having come up with such an interesting set of factoids about Indian culture that he was very kind to share with us. He asked specific people to explain their roles at the beginning so that people who were not aware of Toastmasters and the structure of the meeting knew what is coming. The one piece of feedback I would give to the Toastmaster of the day, and goes to everyone who's taking charge of the meeting, would be to explain that meetings, for people who are not part of Toastmasters, explain to them that meetings happen in 3 segments and stuff like that, so that there's a larger context set for everyone to enjoy the course of the meeting. There was a couple of unnecessary conversations about screen sharing and timing and all that, which we could have handled this offline. Cyril, I apologize for that. I should have checked with you about what you want to do. Do you want to use Caleb Grove or do you want to use some app? My mistake on that. So I could have improved that. Then in terms of the speeches themselves, both speakers were very well prepared. They had shown commitment to delivering a quality speech that the club would enjoy. I appreciate that about both our speakers. Both our evaluators did the same thing. They paid attention, though I'll give more feedback on that a little bit later. Let's move on to table topics. The topics were interesting, though in my view, and this is just a personal peeve, sharing screens and giving too many choices for 2 people, that just derails the momentum of the meeting. That's just a personal opinion. And since I'm the general evaluator, you take it as feedback from the general evaluator. I know other clubs do it, other people do it. And if you could smooth out that aspect of table topics, Toastmaster Durgesh, I would recommend doing that. Maybe just say that, you will be, just pick what you want to ask this person to do, because when it comes to contests and in real life also, the reason why we do table topics is that we want to give people the feeling of being put on the spot suddenly, and then they have to think on their feet and respond to, say, a peer of theirs or a spouse or a doctor or a manager. We want to give that experience to people, but if you give them so much time to understand what you're saying and it takes them 20 minutes even to figure out what, say, a 3-point story is, I think it just defeats the purpose of table topics. Not that the table topics that you picked were not appropriate or interesting. They were excellent. I mean, they were by far the best table topics in quite a while. But I still feel that table topics is for people, to put people on the spot. And I think that aspect sometimes gets missed when it comes to all these screen shares and all that. Just my feedback on that. Other than that, I think you did a great job. And I also liked that you were so engaging and you were giving feedback, you were responding, you were withholding comments in some cases because you thought as a male, some feedback from you was not appropriate. You were responding to the person whose table topics was maybe not in the same type that you were expecting. You said, oh yeah, maybe as a guy, the response would have been different. You were encouraging to Toastmaster Ishank. I think those are all very, very good signs in a table topics master. You're an encouraging, warm, empathetic table topics master. And I think you did a wonderful job as the table topics master for the evening. Let's move on to the general evaluation section. Our evaluators, thank you very much for the attention you paid to our speakers. Though Toastmaster Geo, your feedback, when you forget the name of the protagonist of the speech. Toastmaster Purnama's speech had 2 people, Toastmaster Purnama herself, whose name you don't need to remember, and her friend Madhu, who was basically the protagonist of the speech. And if you are not able to remember the name, I wouldn't say make it up, but I would definitely recommend using filler pronouns like your friend, or filler common nouns, your friend, your best friend, your peer. Use fillers which don't hint to the fact that you don't know the name, because that's one part where I thought that as an evaluator, a little bit more attention to detail was warranted from your side. Toastmaster Sandhya, I liked your sandwich approach. You were encouraging. You gave very supportive feedback in the beginning about the beginning of Toastmaster Shree's speech, but then you also had good points to make about about where the speech ended and how things could have been tied together. And I like that about both your evaluation and Toastmaster Geo's evaluation. You gave actionable stuff. You said For example, that you could have tied the fact that the speaker Sri and his mother met a very strong woman who had been abandoned by her family, and connected that to the end of the speech in some way, maybe bring back some story about his mother or something like that. I appreciated that about your evaluation. Very well done. Moving on to the auxiliary role players and their feedback during the evaluation section. Great attention to detail. Toastmasters Geo and Toastmaster Kalpana, great job done. Toastmaster Kalpana picked some really nice words to highlight, and some good. There's one place which stood out, and I forgot to make a note of it, and I think that's a ding on me as well as the general evaluator. I have to leave. Okay, Vijayata, thank you so much for joining us. Toastmaster Kalpana, your feedback about room for improvement in English, I think that is very nicely put. It wasn't crude or rude. It was just a polite way of saying that there's still room for growth in all of us, and you pinpointed that really well. Oh, by the way, I should have maybe launched the polls while I was doing all this. I'm going to launch the polls really quick. It has all the roles to be voted on immediately. Let me do that while I'm continuing with my feedback. Right, please do vote and make sure that all the votes are cast. Back to the question of evaluations. Feedback. I think overall the meeting has been a success for all of us in this club, and I don't have much more to say about the nature of the meeting. I'm glad the finishing roughly on time, and with that, I'm going to give control back to the Toastmaster of the day to take the meeting forward. Toastmaster Cyril, that's all yours now.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. I myself was voting. I encourage all of you to submit your votes. Thank you so very much, Toastmaster Sai. That brings us to an end of today's meeting. I'd like to ask, while the votes are being submitted, I'd like to ask all our visiting Toastmasters. Some of you have dropped out. Let me ask Toastmaster Anand. I believe this is his third visit to BKC Fireflies and the first visit in 2023. What his experience of the meeting was, Toastmaster Anand? While we wait for him, let's hear from you, Toastmaster Sri. You're on mute.
It's always fun to attend a Toastmaster meeting from away from home. Something that I'm not familiar with, for unfamiliar faces, and but I've heard most of you all speak because I've previously spoken in this club as a test speaker for evaluating competition, and I've heard Sandhya, Sai, I think even Cyril, Joe. I think you guys were there, and I'm quite familiar with the style of people they approach with in this club, and it's really fun to learn from stalwarts like you guys. So it was a great experience. I mean, definitely a great Thursday to end with. Thank you.
Thank you, and do visit again. We like Sai mentioned, we are a small club, and therefore the moment you clear your L2, there's something that I need to announce. The moment you clear your L2, we give you advanced level feedback, which means you get dedicated feedback on your content, dedicated feedback on your delivery, and your overall objectives. So instead of having a 3-minute evaluation, you have a 6-minute evaluation all to yourself. So do visit again.
Definitely. Thank you.
Toastmaster Durgesh, who did a phenomenal job as a table topics master. Thank you for stepping in at the last minute, literally at 1 hour before the meeting.
No issues.
Today at BKC Fireflies.
Yeah, it's always fun to come to BKC Fireflies. I have been asking Toastmaster Parvati for sending me the links and all, which she might be busy or something like that. Yeah, it's really fun. I got to hear my mentor's team out. I mean, Toastmaster of the day thing. And Sai, I have already heard him in the contest. So it's really great. Really good. Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Toastmaster Kalpana, this is your third. Okay. Ending the poll soon. Those of you who haven't voted, please submit your votes. Toastmaster Kalpana, this is your third visit to BKC Fireflies, I believe.
Yes, it is.
Yes. How was your experience?
Actually, I always look forward to being a part of this. I like the lighthearted this that you all share. I like, the way you all are knitted so closely together. And there is some sort of I would like to actually put it as something that is so intelligent when you all converse among yourself as members of BKC, that it makes me feel glad to be a part of something that is elite, especially where the communication is concerned, which is something I have not found in so many clubs that I have visited. And bringing my own level to that kind of a heights where there is a lightheartedness. At the same time, the protocol of Toastmaster is really adhered to so well that I find myself relaxing in your meetings more than if I am a part of any other club's meeting. So that warmth, that easygoing style, that easygoing environment that BKC presents is something I have really come to admire. And I genuinely relax here, and more often than not, I am me when I am with BKC.
Thank you so much for
So,
this very, very kind words.
so that's something, I wanted to tell you. So even when you approached me in the morning, I knew that till 6, and I really couldn't recall. I think I had attended last meeting, and I was thinking whether it's a 6 o'clock or 6:30. I couldn't recall the time. And that's why I asked you the time, because I was very happy to be a part of it. So
That's
yes,
so kind of
thank you
you.
so much for this opportunity, and continue being, projecting this image of somewhere we can really come and relax. You can chill, and still gain a lot. I enjoy, the remote role that you play. I enjoyed the last time when you came up with the Shakespeare in English. I love his books. I've read his books. I've got his collections all over here. And very rarely I find a chance to speak that English. So the very first meeting, and yes, kudos. Thank you for giving me space to be myself, come enjoy and sit relax. I was a part of BKC meeting. Thank you.
Just what's a sign we must get her to for every meeting, right? We must have a standing invite for her. She says so much good things about us. Thank you so very much, Toastmaster Kalpana. We can
Thank you,
clearly
sir.
see from your choice of the word for the day that you're indeed relaxed. Not a light on the heart, but
Thank
thank you
you.
so very much for coming. Toastmaster Anand, do you have your camera and your Toastmaster Anand? Are you there? Do you have your issues sorted?
So,
There you are.
yes, thank you very much for giving a great opportunity to participate. It was a wonderful program. I always say that this is one of the high quality club. A lot of learnings. See, a lot of vocabularies also I have written on my book. And also I got a lot of constructive feedback from the grammarian. Thank you very much. Over to you, sir.
Splendid. Thank you. Thank you so very much. And okay, I need to announce the winners for today. But before that, thank you so very much for coming over to our club. Do feel free to reach out in case you need the role players at your club. We'll be happy to return the favor. One place that we'd be very, very keen to play would be evaluation. I think we all know I know how Sai speaks. All of us know how all of us speak. So we try to ensure that one evaluator is always from outside. It doesn't really work all the time. But then if you ever would love to have some superlative evaluations, Sai Ramachandran is a man to call on. Yeah, call me. I'll ensure that he comes forward. I know that Kalpana's club meets on a Sunday afternoon, Anand, and Durgesh meets on a Thursday. Anand, do let us know about your club timings and feel free to reach out for any role-playing help that you need. We'll be happy to return the favor. Right. Okay. So I have the polling results here. The best primary role player. Any guesses? Hands down. TMOD, General Evaluator, Table Topics Master. Before you answer, it's a Table Topics Master. Thank you so very much, Durgesh. That was a superlative performance as Table Topics Master. Like Sai said, you did everything. You were putting people at ease. You were trying to be the diplomat during Table Topics. You did a splendid job, and there's so much for us to learn from.
Thank you.
The second, the auxiliary role player. We call them an auxiliary role player despite the primary role that they play. And the auxiliary role player today was the one and only multitasking Toastmaster, general evaluator, timer, Zoom master, Sai. Congratulations, Sai.
I had to pick up 4 or 5 roles just to win something.
Thank God that we don't have an award for that. Otherwise, you'd be winning it hands down. And best table topics speech was the ever energetic Toastmaster Gio won the best table topic speech.
I don't believe he's here anymore.
He's not here. He had to step out. Thank you so very much. I guess that brings the meeting to a close. We can stop the recording, Toastmaster Sai, and we can have regular banter.